Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this edition of 30 on Thursdays, our bi-weekly SharePoint webinar series. Let's get started with a few housekeeping items. For those of you joining us for the first time, 30 on Thursdays is, as I said, a bi-weekly 30-minute webinar series that we do every other Thursday at 1:30 p.m. Eastern. Our next one coming up on August 1st is Less Socially Awkward, the new Social SharePoint 2013. And we have a full schedule going out the next couple of months on our website, sharepoint.protiviti.com/webinars. In addition, today's session is being recorded, and the majority of our past sessions have also been recorded. So if there's anything you want to learn about SharePoint-wise, you can go to sharepoint.protiviti.com/archive-webinars, and you can get to all the past 30 on Thursdays that we recorded. Throughout today's session, you can use the question window located in GoToWebinar, and I'll answer all the questions at the end of the session. One quick plug for our training group. We recently launched an all-access pass, which is a 6-month pass for unlimited free or unlimited online training for one low price. There's a host of classes available from now till the end of the year that qualify, everything from SharePoint 2010 to 2013, add-ons like Nintex forms and workflow, responsive design, all sorts of goodies. And you can get all that information on our website. We've been doing online webinar training, web-based training for a couple of years now. We have a good base of recordings available out there. That's also included in the All Access Pass. Or you can buy them one at a time, and you can get that on our website at sharepoint.protiviti.com. Today's session is SharePoint 2013 and CRM, A True Love Story. I will be your presenter and moderator and all things regarding to this presentation this week. And I'm the Director of Training and Product Development here at Protiviti. So let's just jump right in. Some of the goals for the session today is just a quick basic understanding of CRM. So I know this is a SharePoint webinar series, but we're going to kind of dive into CRM and look at collaboration from maybe a little bit broader perspective. We'll give you a basic understanding of SharePoint 2013, Yammer, Skype, Office, and kind of how these all work together, how Microsoft kind of plugs them into and how they fit into their social, mobile, and cloud strategy. And we'll take a look at some of the interesting things coming up from Microsoft that in relation to Dynamics CRM, SharePoint, Office in general. And hopefully we'll have a little bit of fun. So we put this session together, and I actually did this session at our conference back in June. We came up with the idea of SharePoint and CRM, a love story. So kind of thinking about what kind of love story we're talking about. Certainly not a classic Romeo and Juliet love story, and maybe not as creepy as a Pepe Le Pew style love story, and certainly not this type of love story, or maybe it is. So in the purpose of analogies, came up with the idea of Ross and Rachel from the show Friends, because really the love story and the relationship between Dynamics CRM and SharePoint has really been two products that started roughly around the same time and had operated mainly in silos, parts of different divisions within Microsoft, and really trying to serve a couple different markets, and really little overlap or collaboration between the Dynamics group and the SharePoint group until probably about 2011 when CRM 2011 came out. So, and to wrap up my analogy, and really the thing that brings this all together is the other products that kind of go with it, which is Yammer, Office 2013, Skype, Windows 8, and the way that those all support a greater level of collaboration on the Microsoft stack. And really that's what this is all about. That's kind of the crux of today's presentation. It's talking about collaboration, but not just this SharePoint view of collaboration, but a much broader view of collaboration that gets into things like customer relationship management, or it could be case management, things like that, using Dynamics CRM and all the other products. So quick slide here on kind of collaboration and really the act of working together, multiple people working together on a common objective. And really what we've come to find, and I think you'll find the same thing, is that a lot of collaborative efforts involve some sort of document management, whether there's collaboration on a sales proposal or a presentation, requirements document for a project. Somewhere at the heart of collaboration, there is document management, and that, of course, is what SharePoint does at its best. So that's really what we're going to talk about today, and we're going to approach it from a sales perspective, but really, again, you can use it from a much broader perspective. And we look at it from Microsoft's point of view, and look at their overall strategy. You have, tiered products. Everything's built off Windows. They use SQL as the data platform. And then you have application and business solutions. And really, that's where this all kind of comes together. And where Microsoft has taken the company lately is really, and even with the announcements last week about more focus on devices and services, it's in these top two layers of business solutions around Dynamics and application services, where you have Yammer, Office, Link, SharePoint, .NET, and all those other great services that kind of sit in that layer. And again, being able to access and interact with these, whether you're on your PC, your phone, and your tablet. And we're going to look at some of that today. So just quickly start with, again, we're going to approach this from a document management perspective in Dynamics CRM. You have basically three options for document management within Dynamics CRM. If you don't have SharePoint, don't use SharePoint, you're just using CRM, whether it be on-premise or in the cloud. You can certainly store your sales documents or your case management documents directly into CRM, which is actually going to put it into the SQL database and actually store it in CRM. So it's stored in there. There's really no search capabilities. There's no version control, and there's really limited collaboration options around the document when you store it in CRM. But if you're a small organization or have a handful of users and you're not using SharePoint, then that's still kind of your out-of-the-box option. The next option is the integrated with SharePoint document libraries. In that scenario, you're actually storing your documents in the SharePoint document library, so you get all the great features with SharePoint document libraries, version control, version history, check-in, check-out, however you want to use it in SharePoint, but you're accessing it right through the Dynamics CRM interface. And you can also do workflows and other things for approval because they're in a SharePoint document library. And then a third option is, and again, this doesn't necessarily need to be an either or, is you can put some documents in Yammer as well, and that's one of the great integrations with the acquisition of Yammer about 12 months ago, and integrating it immediately with Dynamics CRM, and ultimately going to be integrating it with SharePoint. You can actually put documents out into Yammer and access them right through Dynamics CRM. They can be completely searchable through Yammer. You do get some basic content management, but it's not as robust as SharePoint, but those are good for, I would say, more casual documents, maybe not formalized proposals, things where you want document retention policies and things like that. Those should go in SharePoint, but Yammer still gives you the ability to integrate documents as well. So those are the three different options that you have for document management within CRM. You also have other collaboration options, which we're going to touch on a little bit in our demo here in a second. And again, as I mentioned, you've got the social features of SharePoint 2013 with activity feeds. You've got the great integration with Yammer that we'll look at. You also have more robust integration with Link and Skype. I'm not actually going to be able to show that to you today, but I will talk to it and point it out when we get into the demo. But this gets into more real-time collaboration, so that when you're working on an opportunity and you need to engage somebody else from your sales team, you can use Link or you can use Skype to do real-time interactive meetings right there from within the interface. And presence is now embedded in Dynamics CRM and SharePoint, so you can see when your colleagues are online and start a chat session with them immediately. And then, of course, you've got all the great mobile support for Link on Windows desktop, Windows 8, Windows Phone, iOS, and Android, as well as SharePoint 2013 support for those same OSs. So the great thing is you'll be able to access, and you can access all of this, whether you're on your desktop or on your tablet device or on your phone. You can continue to do work, and we'll take a look at that too. So some things to consider if you're looking at integrating Dynamics CRM and SharePoint. and looking at doing some of the things we're doing today. SharePoint and Link is not required to install CRM. They just provide nice jumping off points and integrations. And again, I'll touch a little bit on how you can set that up if you already have Link or Link or SharePoint. The document management integration is supported on SharePoint 2010, all editions, Office 365, and SharePoint 2013. And you enable SharePoint document management and link presence in CRM. And again, we'll take a look at that. And this is for CRM on-premise or online. Currently, we're going to look at in our demo, we're going to use CRM online. CRM on-premise is a little behind update-wise with the Yammer integration that we're going to look at today, so we're going to look at an online version. And this all changes a little bit as we get into the end of the year when the next big release of Dynamic CRM is available, what they're calling a Dynamic CRM 2013. There'll be a new on-premise version as well as the updated online version. So we're going to go through a quick demo scenario, and again, I want to spend the majority of the time looking through the actual software and looking at a demo. But this is a pretty typical scenario. I'm going to be logged in and as Sam Madison, who's an account manager. He's working on a large deal, and really going to look at what he's going to want to do with establishing a pursuit team to work with him on the deal, and then develop a proposal and a presentation, basically a Word document and a PowerPoint document. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and jump into CRM, and I'm going to go back here to my home page. I hope everybody's seeing my screen okay. And I'm going to jump back and forth a little bit. I also have a Surface tablet set up next to me here where I'm going to be logged in as a different user, Andrew Kurtz, who's going to be part of Sam Madison's team. So we're going to go quickly look at, and we're using some demo data here in CRM Online. And we're going to use AdventureWorks, which is an age-old Microsoft fictitious company. And we're going to go ahead and jump in here and look at the AdventureWorks account. Now, they're already an account set up within the system, and we're going to take a quick look at, and you'll see loading here in the middle is our Yammer feed. Again, one of those new social integrations that has been available in CRM since probably earlier this year. And then off to the side, and again, this is an entirely new interface that they've rolled out as part of CRM right around the same time the Yammer integration came out. I think it's release 13. If you go over here to the left and expand, you'll see you have a number of different opportunities. And again, we're in at the account level, so you can see your different menu options. And the thing I'm going to focus in on here, and just to talk a little bit about that SharePoint integration, is you see we have the ability to store documents at the account level. So if I go ahead and click on Documents, what's going to happen is it's actually loading up from my Office 365 sales site a document library, and particularly a folder within that for AdventureWorks. I'm hoping my connectivity stays with me. You'll see here I already have my proposal and sales presentation in here. And this, again, we'll go into Office 365 and take a look, but you'll see that this is actually pulling data in, but we're getting to it right from the CRM interface. So I'm going to go ahead and open up this sales proposal. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to access the same sales proposal on my Surface. And I'm actually going to open this directly from within, I know you can't see this, I'm going to open it directly from within SharePoint, but I'm going to use the word web app. So one of the interesting things here is when you're collaborating on something like this, and you're mobile and you're working off your Surface, or you're on your PC like I am here, you can actually work on documents in real time and do real-time updates. This is going around and not utilizing the check-in, check-out, which you often use in document management, but allowing for more real-time updates and people to do simultaneous editing to the Word document. So I'm going to go ahead here and go ahead and edit in Word. And I'm going to do the same thing on my Surface, but I'm going to edit in the Word web app. And when you edit in the Word web app, you don't get to edit all the things you can in the desktop version of Word, but you can update the majority of the content. So you can see here, Andrew Kurtz, who again, that's the user on my Surface, is now editing this document at the same time I'm editing it here on my desktop. So I'm going to go ahead and change the name from Vandelay Industries to AdventureWorks. And then I'm going to go ahead and hit save. Again, I'm doing this on my Surface so you can't see it, but I want you to see how this updates in real time, which again is one of those nice collaborative features when you're using Word and Office, SharePoint to store it, and then accessing it from Dynamic CRM. All right, so this still says Vandelay Industries. I go ahead and click Updates are available, save your document, refresh this area. So I'm going to go ahead and hit that button. Seem to have lost my, there we go. And you can see now the change that Andrew Kurtz made, where it was on my machine here was Vandelay Industries. Now it says AdventureWorks. So again, just an example of some of the powerful collaboration we can do when we leverage all these different technologies. So I'm going to go back into my CRM site. And I want to show you how we set up that integration, because I think that's a big part of how this kind of all comes together. So if I go into Settings, and I go into Document Management Settings, basically I can point this to, and in this case I'm pointing it to a test site that I have on Office 365, and I can select what different entities in CRM I wanted to use document management. Now currently you'll notice I was using it at the account level, which is a higher level than you would have for individual opportunities. But if I wanted to turn this on for opportunities, so I could store those documents directly with my given opportunities, I would check this box, hit next, and it would go through, and it would actually provision the necessary libraries out in my SharePoint site, and then allow me to, every time I'm adding documents and uploading documents, to put them right there within SharePoint, using SharePoint security and integrated security between CRM and SharePoint. So to take a look at that, I'll jump over to our SharePoint site, and I look at site contents, and you'll notice I have a library here for account. I also have one here for opportunity, one here for sales literature, etc. So if I go into account, you'll see it creates folders for each of my accounts, and then in there is where the documents are uploaded. So if I open up the AdventureWorks folder, you will see those same documents that I edited right through the Dynamic CRM interface here right in SharePoint. So this is kind of the back-end plumbing that CRM is using SharePoint to do the heavy lifting on the document management front. And again, because this is SharePoint, you can go in and configure it, any of the settings around document management, document retention, version history, security, workflow, all of that you can do right in SharePoint like you normally would, but it leverages and you can get access to it through Dynamic CRM. And the only real thing you need to do from a technical standpoint, whether it's in Office 365 or in an on-premise version of SharePoint, is there is a solution you need to deploy. It's the list solution. You can get to it right from the CRM interface. It's actually called the list component solution. You just install that in your SharePoint environment, and that way when you point your CRM instance to your SharePoint instance, it can recognize it and do all the provisioning of those document libraries. So again, with one collaboration scenario on how we kind of pull all of this together. The other thing that I mentioned is, and that's now available, is the idea of presence and using link presence and Skype presence and accessing those from one to the other within Dynamic CRM. And you can configure all of that in here as well. I'm not going to jump into that because we're running out a little bit short on time. But it's another feature that you can activate right within CRM. And then as you're looking at people within your organization, you can create meetings, you can chat with them, you can do phone calls and all of that right within CRM. So with a little bit of time left that we have left, I'm going to jump back into the PowerPoint because there's a couple things that are pretty exciting coming down the road. So let me go back in here. So kind of what's on the horizon, and I think this is important into what Microsoft is doing in and around Windows 8, again, and everything else, bringing the experience to the tablet, bringing it to the desktop, is the CRM Windows 8 app. Originally, the plan was, I think, it was going to have it out in Q2. As of the partner conference last week, they've announced that it'll be out in Q4 of this year. I'm guessing right around the time that Orion, or the next big release of Dynamics CRM, is available. And what this does is now it takes that experience that we were looking at in the web browser and brings it into that Metro UI feel on Windows 8. And I have some screenshots here that I'll walk you through because I think it's pretty impressive how you can access all of this in one cohesive interface right from within Windows 8. So here you're looking at essentially the same type of information that we looked at in our CRM Online, but you're looking at it with tiles that you can swipe back and forth. You're going to see your Yammer feed here. You're going to see your messages that you have. You're going to be able to see your pipeline opportunities. You're going to see some of the business intelligence graphics that you would have. And again, those are all displayed on your dashboard when you log into the browser, but now it's bringing it into your Windows 8 interface. So this is just kind of showing you scrolling from left to right, how you can get into different information, all right here within your Windows 8 interface. And again, as I mentioned, the Yammer feed built in, once you have kind of activated that and you are using Yammer, then you'll be able to see your Yammer activity feeds right from within the CRM application. You'll also be able to see frequently accessed information here on the left, and you've got your activity feed there on the right. And then if I keep going, you have your kind of the different stages of your pipeline. And then what I think is pretty exciting is if you're going to build out an opportunity. So here we're in a fictional opportunity, and we're starting to type into the product field, and this is done on a surface because you can see the keyboard there. And as you're typing in, it's autofilling not only information from your product list within CRM, but it's also putting in images as well. So you can build out a quote on the fly, put in a quantity, and there you have your quote right there in front of me, right there in front of you with your the images and access to more detailed product information. And then you have documents associated with that opportunity on the right, and those documents again pulling in from SharePoint. And that just looks at you if you were scrolling left to right again. So kind of wrap up, and then we'll get into some questions. Some document management best practices, and I touched on this a little bit, but really want to use the CRM document attachments or Yammer attachments when you have a limited number or a small contextual documents are required. No broad search requirements are needed, and you don't necessarily have to have deep document collaboration or document management. So again, SharePoint is not required to get a good collaborative experience, but you get much more, and you can leverage a lot of the power of SharePoint if you're dealing in a large organization with a higher volume of documents that you don't want to store directly in your database or put out there on Yammer. And that's really when you want to use the SharePoint document libraries. And you want to get into the broad search power of SharePoint. You want to get into version control. You have more complex maybe workflows and things that you want to create in SharePoint. Then you simply just point it to your SharePoint environment. So to wrap up the session today, Dynamics CRM can leverage the best of Microsoft's toolkit, and that's again what this is about. This is about SharePoint not being the only collaborative tool on the Microsoft stack. It's just one component, and the way Microsoft's looking at it is a much more broad set of services that you can kind of pick and choose what you want to use. You can use Yammer, but you don't have to. You can use SharePoint, but you don't have to. But the more of these things you're already using that you can bring together, you're going to get a much more robust experience. And again, SharePoint is a good fit if you already have domain expertise on the platform, or you have more complex document management needs, you can use it. You can use CRM and Yammer for the more simple stuff. And all of this is built on WWF, the Windows Workflow Foundation. So you can build workflows in CRM using a very similar interface that you would in SharePoint Designer. And you can, kind of have the things, they're mutually exclusive in the current version, but they're all built off the same foundation. So there's some synergies from a learning curve perspective. And if you're comfortable in one, you'll be comfortable in the other. And you can use this in a cloud hybrid model. In the case I showed today, we were doing it all in the cloud, but I could just so easily had either my SharePoint environment or my CRM environment on-premise, both of them on-premise or one or the other on-premise to give me that hybrid environment. And, as we looked at today, and you couldn't see it, but I was doing a lot of the other work off of my Surface, but I can also do it on my Windows phone. I can open up those documents, I can edit them. I can interact with with any of the data on my mobile device as well. So it really gives you that kind of that three-screen approach that Microsoft has been going for. Some useful resources, and what I would recommend for anybody that's interested in seeing how this all works is spending a little bit of time and setting it up. You can sign up for an Office 365 trial. You can sign up for a CRM trial. You can plug this in, put it all together yourself, and really start to see the power of all this and test it out. Even if you're using these products currently in an on-premise environment or somewhere else, you can create an account and go out there and do it. And that's kind of what I did here, using a paid version of Office 365 we have, but a 30-day trial of CRM. And with that, I'm going to open it up to questions. I've got a couple over here in the questions window. First question is, will you send the deck after the presentation? Yeah, this will be available, as well as the recording will be available on our website probably within the next 24 hours or so. Next question, what version of CRM are you using, cloud or on-premise? I think I covered that, but I am using the latest version of CRM, and I'm doing it in CRM Online. I think in terms of version numbers, I think that's 13. Don't quote me on that, but I was doing this all on CRM Online. Next question, will there be integration with Dynamics Accounting so that the sharing model between CRM and SharePoint gets extended accounting as well? Yes, I believe there is integration, and there's some information, if you Google it, out there on integration with AX and some of the other Dynamics accounting solutions with CRM. And that's the nice thing about Dynamics and CRM being part of that Dynamics family. There's already some native integration there, and now we're looking at integration with SharePoint as well. Next question is, does Yammer have the option to store all text from messages for compliance purposes? Not sure what, in terms of what need for a compliance this person's looking for, but you do have to integrate, and I should have mentioned this earlier, to integrate with Yammer, you do currently need a Yammer Enterprise account. You cannot just use the free version of Yammer. You need actually the paid Enterprise version, which is actually getting kind of spun in and rolled in to Office 365 as we speak. I think they're doing it currently for Enterprise customers, but they'll be doing it for the rest probably later in the year. So not a direct answer to that question. I mean, you can store all of that information, i.e. what people are saying and doing, but in terms of retention policies and what meets compliance criteria, I can't actually speak to that. Next question is, can you use third-party workflow tools that work with SharePoint across the CRM SharePoint apps? I would say that's a yes and no question. I know with like a third-party tool like Nintex and their recently released online version and on-premise version, I know the on-premise version has integration with the on-premise version of CRM. There's some native actions you can use to provision accounts and get data in and out of SharePoint and pull that data out of CRM. As far as a workflow solution that kind of works natively in both, both of these, both SharePoint 2013 and its App Store, as well as Dynamics and its App Store, I'm not familiar with a third-party add-on that kind of works in both and has a native interface that allows you to manage workflow for both. So again, they still kind of mutually exclusive products. but I know for a fact that Nintex, at least when you're dealing in an on-premise environment, has native actions for Dynamics CRM that allow you to do a lot of things and integrate with CRM. And we've actually used that action to do some workflows in a SharePoint environment when it comes to like employee onboarding and things like that. And that appears to be the last question. And we are right. Oh, one more question came in. This will be the last question. For the SharePoint integration, does it create only one document library? No, it actually creates a document library for each entity you tell it to. So if you remember that screen we looked at back here in CRM, I had a number of these checked, and if I went into my SharePoint environment, you would see corresponding document libraries. I think I have them all but one unchecked now, but if I checked any of these, it would actually create those document libraries for each of those different entities. So it's on kind of like an entity by entity basis. So one entity in CRM, if you had it enabled, would be one document library in SharePoint. And a follow-on to that question is, does it create a document library for each account? No, it actually creates a folder for each account. So if we go back in here and go up to our account, again, our account is our entity, and then for each account, it would create a folder, and then within each folder is where you would store the documents. All right, so we will wrap up. Here's my contact information. If you have any questions, I know I covered a lot of information, covered it really quick in our 30-minute format. There's my email address and Twitter handle, and you can get this recording again. The recording and the PowerPoint will be available probably by sometime early tomorrow, and that'll be available at sharepoint.protiviti.com/webinars. Again, our next 30 on Thursday is coming up in 2 weeks on August 1st. We'll talk about all the great social features of SharePoint 2013. And with that, I thank you, and we'll talk to you next time. Thanks.